Good morning everybody and welcome to our webinar 10 Things You Must Do in Tough Times to Not Only Survive but Grow. My name's Peter Scolari, Director of Scolari, Comerford. I'd like to welcome you all here. We've got another good attendance from right across Australia. So what we'll do today is just a bit of housekeeping. Look, if you do have any questions, I would like to I'll give you the opportunity to type those in. I'll keep an eye on those for you. So if you've got any questions, please type those in. We'll answer those as we go. The webinar itself will go for about 40-45 minutes. We will have a wind up with some questions. If for anyone that needs any other questions, or have any other questions that haven't been asked during the webinar. So please feel free to do that. But it's certainly welcome. In terms of when things get a little bit tougher, particularly it's tempting to complain or blame others or unforeseen events or the election not being held. Particularly if the business is in crisis, and I'm not suggesting that some of those things aren't a factor. Certainly. Maybe with if you're involved in the mining industry, for example, if you're doing a bit of engineering with those, then yep, there could quite possibly have been some drop off. There could be various other reasons why things are tightening up a little bit. But I think it's very important that we've got to actually change our mindset a bit, and even though things might be tougher, we need to first of all change our outlook and mindset, so that when we actually look at our business, we're starting to at least give ourselves the opportunity to make some change. And look, it's never been a better opportunity when things are a bit tougher, believe it or not, to get your business's house in order. So, yes, it's not always pleasant, but it's very important that now is the time, if you haven't already done so, to really focus on or even if you have done in the past, you need to keep focusing on improving the business so that not only it'll help you get you through, but actually it'll help you go better when times come good. But of course, what happens is when times are often going well, we don't tend to keep an eye on what's happening in the business. There tends to be some leakages that we're not aware of. There are signs are there, but because we're not keeping an eye on things, we've got a bit of money in the bank, we seem to be making money, then obviously we can actually get ourselves into a bit of strife when things change. So I would suggest, though, that even though part of the strategies that we'll go through, obviously, looking at costs is one of them, but I would actually point out right up front that you need to be very careful when you're looking at cutting costs. Certainly it is a strategy and something that certainly should be explored, but you need to be very careful on where you are actually cutting the costs and why you're cutting the costs. Otherwise you could find that you're starting a downward spiral in some particular circumstances. So just be aware of that. So I guess coming in at tip number one, and this is something that I've probably been banging on about for those that have you attended the previous webinars that I've held in the past, and I just cannot stress how critical it is to have a plan. And the reason why I say this is that I can actually explain this from experience, even with my our own accounting and business advisory business. I realise it's not not an engineering business, but 12 months ago or 15 months ago, we actually sat down and we had a once-off client, it was a special project, and it was $500,000 worth of fees. And so we actually sat down and decided that we were going to have a plan to actually see how we could replace those fees. And by going through some of the things that I'm going through with you today, I can actually say that not only did we achieve those results, or did we replace that $500,000 worth of fees, we actually increased those. So some of the things that I'm talking about today, look, again, it mightn't be rocket science. It might be that you've seen them before, but I think it doesn't hurt to have a refresher. And part of it is, to me, is it's absolutely critical that you do have a plan in tougher times, and to actually, so that you're not only just thinking about how you can get through them, but also how you can actually grow your business as well, which is about the theme today. So first of all, one of the things that you need to really have a good understanding of is your numbers, that have happened recently. So typically, we would look at numbers for the last 3 years. We would get an analysis, do an analysis on revenue. We would do an analysis on obviously gross profit, which in a professional services firm we would put the engineering chargeable team in as part of our cost of sales. We would have a look to see what sort of trends there are in average hourly rates recovered from our clients, the average amount of fees from our clients, and number of new clients, number of existing clients, number of drop-offs, and so on and so forth. We get a bit of an idea also on what, in terms of obviously profitability, in terms of cash flow, how long is it taking us to get paid, how long, if we are involved in inventory, how long is it taking to turn over our inventory materials, what is our work in progress like in terms of our professional team, are we getting work out the door, etc. Because once we get a good understanding of these drivers, then that gives us a bit of a clue on if we're going to do some planning, either what our numbers will look like down the track, but also what we need to improve in terms of profitability, cash flow, etc. So that's the first port of call, and you really need to analyse some of those key things. If you're not looking at the productivity of your team percentages and as part of your budgeting, you're not looking at the average hourly recovered on your fees, and that's purely the billable hours that are divided into total revenue. And then we also look at another critical component, which is average hourly rate recovered for full-time equivalents right across the board, including admin, because that tends to actually give us a true picture of, in terms of efficiencies in getting some of the admin team involved in actually doing some of the things for the professional team. I'm not talking advisory, but getting it all set up, so we can actually start to monitor that and see if we can find ways to improve those, which I'll talk a little bit later on. So once we've done that, we'll look for trends over the last 3 years. Obviously the most recent year is the most critical. There could be a number of different reasons why those numbers are either going up or down, but we need to have an understanding of those. Then pretty much once we've done that, then we'd say, right, well, okay, that's what's happened recently. So 2013 financial year might be what you have looked at. You might have some sort of an idea on what's coming up in 2013/14, but in difficult times you might be concerned about how you're actually going to keep the numbers, how they will look, what you need to do to actually improve them. But what we would do is we would strongly recommend that you actually look at what we call as a long one-page strategic plan, and set the numbers. Have a planning session, which typically would take a day and a half with the team, directors, and actually sit down and look at some of these key numbers and put them onto what we call a one-page strategic plan, which we are a big fan of, which I'll show you an example of in a second. Not only would we look for the next 12 months, and we would actually look for 2 and 3 years out. And you might be thinking, well, that's a bit ridiculous, but I think you need to have some sort of focus on where you want to get to at the end. You want to have a look at your bottom line, you want to have a look at your cash flow, and you want to actually, rather than just take the last 12 months and look at what happened in the previous 12 months and then either add 10% or take off 10%, you're actually now starting to get yourself into saying, well, what do I want the numbers to look like? How can I get these numbers to actually happen? And we need to actually start putting them down so that we stick to it, we monitor it, and go from there. Number of businesses do this already, and I'm not suggesting that the 30-page business plan is necessarily not effective. I think the one-page strategic plan can be put onto one A3. It's all in the one spot. It can be updated quarterly. It can be given to the team, and then you can have some pure focus and really see what's going on. So, in terms of doing that, you would actually just bear with me. I'll just call that up. So some of you may have seen this before, but you know, typically a one-page strategic plan, this is a sample only. It will go through a number of different things. Again, it'll fit onto you know, an A3 sheet of paper, or I can get them laminated. It will actually then ask for things like your 3-year goals, and you'll see in here there's some key drivers. Again, looking at the number of clients, what the average project values are, the projects per client, average revenue per client, etc. For 3 years, for 1 year, and you'll see that we'll actually even look at what you're going to do each quarter, and this will be updated quarterly. There's a number of different things in this plan that we do look at, but it does talk about things like rocks. So what are the rocks, the things that are stopping us, or most likely to stop us from achieving these numbers? So obviously we need to figure out what those are. If we want to make these numbers happen, have we actually sat down with our team and said, well, look, it's all very well to put what we want the numbers to look like, but what are the things that are stopping us, and how are we actually going to go about fixing those sorts of things? So again, critical numbers for the quarter. We want this to be updated quarterly for each quarter, and obviously we want to keep looking at the year-to-date figures and so on and so forth. You'll see that we have some critical numbers in here in terms of revenue for the year. So in this case, we wanted 231 clients to hit the 12-month target. 215 would, in our opinion, would be okay. 205 would be just average, and 195 would be obviously in the red zone, not very good. So we want to have a look at those. We want to set those then for each quarter, and we'll have a look at some of our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. So people we need, the things we need to do to help us get us to the plan, you know, a bit of an analysis on some key numbers, etc. So strongly recommend that you have a look at this sort of stuff. It was implemented by a guy called Vern Harnish from gazelles.com. We've worked with our clients, a number of our clients on this, and again, I can tell you from our own first-hand experience, it's a great thing to do. So in terms of once you have done that, you've set the numbers, you do have some strategies. The next thing that you really then need to do is you've got your revenue targets, you need to then consider putting them into what we call a 3-way budget. And in here you'll mirror for seasonality. These are the sorts of things that you'll put together and have a look at in terms of cash flow, number of days that it takes to actually you know, get your money in from the past, which is what you'll get from when you initially look at your analysis from the previous 3 years that I mentioned before. You will also take into account, you know, average days it takes to get paid, etc., etc. This will then convert over into what your balance sheet should look like in terms of debtors, creditors, etc., based on those assumptions and what your bank balance will look like. But also importantly, with your plans and what you intend to achieve, it will also bring into account the actual revenue and GST inclusive, so you get a bit of an idea on what your cash balance will look like. And if your cash balance is going to be over your overdraft figure, then we need to look at how we can get your money in better, or if we need to look at making more profit, okay, so we need to maybe readjust it. But typically it's some operational issues to do with how things are being billed, whether work in progress is being followed up, systems that are happening in there, you know, again, where invoices are going out regularly or they're being waited to the end of the month, and whether or not we're just letting our clients get away with you know, not paying us on time, and what are the strategies to fix that. So some of those things, to me, it's very much a 3-step process. Analyse the last 2 or 3 years, sit down then and work out what you want the numbers to look like, have a plan around those using one-page strategic plan. We would recommend putting those numbers into a 3-way budget, so that these systems, you do have like a copy, and you can do some what-if scenarios on your cash flow to see whether or not you need to let your bank manager know that you're going to be running short, but you do have a plan, etc., etc. And also you need to be monitoring them. That's the final piece in the puzzle in terms of going through these processes through the planning stage. So you know, you might just see, for example, you know, we would actually have a monitoring system that we actually use with our engineering clients. we will basically analyse the figures. I should just show here. Here's basically an analysis on average hourly rates, productivity of directors and the engineering staff, the average hourly rate recovered, number of debtor days, etc. And then each month, as the numbers are actually put in with our clients, we then actually produce a dashboard, and we will actually have a conversation with our clients, and so that they can see what's going on, and if the numbers are making sense and doing what they should be. Okay, so that's just a bit of an idea on different ways you can actually go through that process, but definitely very, very important and absolutely critical in terms of tough times. So again, I talked about cash flow. What are the key initiatives? So that comes again out with the planning. Do we show the team? Big believer in actually showing your team through the strategic planning process the numbers, particularly management team and professional staff. I realise that's a personal choice, but if you want your team to have some buy-in and some input into how things are going, then by all means I recommend it. Realistically, if you have members on your team who are professional people working within the business and they can't figure out roughly what you should be making based on revenue, then I wonder whether you have the right people in the right spots in any case. But again, not absolutely critical, but it's a good way of getting your team involved, and then the other critical thing is getting the numbers, the plan monitored on a regular basis, sometimes monthly, sometimes quarterly, but you need to have a look at those and then make decisions about why, if your plan's not working, why isn't the plan working? Is it that we aren't doing enough marketing? Is it that we haven't been passing on some of the increased costs? Did we adjust? Did we start to do some discounting with our fees? Did we, are we being inefficient? Are we not getting bills out the door, etc.? It is too late to get your figures done 9 and 10 months after the end of the financial year. So I'm not quite sure how many of you that are on the call today that might do that. The risk is, if you are actually waiting that long, that you've actually missed an opportunity to stop the leakages and also work out whether or not there's something that you should have done to fix it, and the time is as it happens, not 9 or 10 months down the track, or it could be costing you tens of thousands of dollars to your bottom line, if not possibly hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on your size. Okay, so just checking that we haven't got it. Okay, so got a question here. I'm just having some. We've got a question here. Can we get an electric copy of the presentation, including the Excel spreadsheets currently being discussed? It's a very good question. Certainly, the webinar will be up on YouTube. There will be a recording. The Excel spreadsheets are something that we've put together over time, so it's not something really that we actually do hand out, but more than happy to talk to you about some of the numbers that you need to work on and have a look at. So I hope that answers the question there. So that was a question from Peter, and so I hope that's answered that for you, Peter. If not, please let me know. All right, so that's the plan. Very important. Let's just go back to some of the other tips. Tip number 2, I think it's very important we don't lose sight of our existing clients. In tougher times, you can bet your life that if you've got competitors out there, they are looking to try and get hold of your clients. Your good competitors are actually going to be out there marketing. They are going to be going to things, getting in, some of the key influencers of your clients' ears, trying to actually win business. I think it's very important that, in order to keep that, relationship going with your existing clients, that you actually do stay in contact with them, and you do let them know that you appreciate them, and tell them that you appreciate their business. If you're not staying in contact with your clients just because they haven't got any work, or you don't perceive there's any work going about, then you actually are asking for trouble. You need to perhaps just have a regular contact and contact system in place. Do you do newsletters? Just bordering on some of the marketing. Do you have any loyalty system in place? Do you hold client events? Do you invite them to different things with them? Do you take them along to things? Do you actually go and visit them just to say hello, see how they're going, see if you can help them in any way, just to keep them informed. Be proactive. Don't wait for them to contact you. If you have a product or service that you think that might help them, or if there's been a change in legislation that could affect them, it doesn't hurt to actually get on the phone and let them know so that they know they're thinking about you. So there's a number of different things. It's very important that by all means, if you want to grow your business, there's a number of different ways of doing that. But we often go like a bull at a gate trying to win new business, and we forget to look after our existing clients. So my question to you would be, how are you currently keeping in contact with your clients? When was the last time that you did keep in contact, particularly with your good clients? Was it because they were doing work with you, or was it because that you had a system in place where you probably contacted them, if not necessarily monthly, but maybe once a quarter, checking how they're going, and then on an informal basis, maybe through a newsletter, etc. So, very important that you keep that in mind. Again, you don't want to be spending money trying to win new business if you're leaking clients out the back door. In terms of again, you've got a hole in the bucket, and you don't actually, you haven't actually thought of ways that actually they might have other services that you can actually that they could use from your team. Okay. Tip number 3, again, you might think, well, okay, yeah, of course we want to hold on to our best employees, but in tough times it's tempting to put people off. And unfortunately, if you've got employees who aren't performing, and they aren't performing, and it doesn't look like getting any better, and the reality is that things are a bit tougher, well, yes, of course, you might have to let some go. But in terms of holding on to your best employees, I think it's absolutely important that you do everything you can to hold on to them. And sometimes some of the best ways of doing that is when things are a little bit tighter, you need to look at some incentives and bonus programs and make sure they are tied to performance. Make sure that you're doing your reviews. Sometimes they're 6 monthly, some do quarterly. I would suggest that's possibly overkill, but 6 monthly, or at least annually, so that you're giving them feedback. And so that they can give you feedback on where they are. Employees want to know how they're going. They want to know whether they're going well or indifferent. They might be a little bit concerned if things are quiet. So you don't want them looking around unnecessarily for other jobs just in case. Ask for their input regarding the business's performance. Get them involved. Get them engaged. Hold regular meetings with the team. Again, the one-page strategic plan and the system we use here is we do daily huddles. They only go for 15 minutes. They're stand-up meetings. They are, we meet at a certain time each day, in a general area. Basically, we go through three main issues. What's up, so anything they might have learned or anything that people within the business might need to know or be aware of. It could be something that's happened great to them personally, not necessarily with the business. Second question going around the group is basically what they achieved from yesterday and what they intended to get onto today. And finally, the last question is if they're stuck. So any areas where they're stuck that's stopping them from doing their work or progressing, then that gives them an opportunity to say it. And so outside of the meeting, then the relevant person can help them with those. A lot of people get worried about regular meetings and it sounds like overkill. Look, again, I can only say that it works. It's worked for us, and there is a right way to do it. Generally, the feedback from the team is that they feel a lot better informed and they do prefer it. It's meant to only go for 15 minutes. We do have a weekly meeting which goes for an hour with a set agenda. And that brings together things like targets and letting people know how the targets are going, some suggestions and maybe some internal training that goes for about an hour. But again, great idea. In terms of appreciating your team, look, you need to make sure they are appreciated and not just in terms of, look, they get paid. The reality is that we're all working towards a goal. You want good people to, they want to know they're appreciated, especially. Consider surveying them. There's a number of employee surveys around that you can actually grab hold of. We have a number that we use for our clients. So at the end of the day, you don't want to be losing your best employees because for a number of reasons, client contact, if you lose them, then there's the risk also that they could take businesses with them or some of the clientele with them. Hopefully you've got contracts in place that would help with those. But then you've also got to train up the new people. And we all know that typically it can take anywhere up to 6 months worth of salary to get people up to speed with how you do things. So ask yourself what sort of things are you doing to keep your best employees, and are you doing some of the things that I've just discussed there. Okay, just checking for any of the questions. Tip number 4 is a big one again that we push is market. The first thing that often goes when there is a downturn is marketing. Do you have, what sort of marketing are you doing at the moment? If the phones aren't ringing, what sort of things are you doing, and what have you been doing that makes it consistent? It doesn't necessarily have to be expensive, but you need to set a budget if you are going to spend money. If you're not actually consistently getting the message out, what tends to happen is that people wait while things are good, and they say, well, look, they do one of two things. They will say, look, we don't need to market, or contact key influencers that might be able to give us work, or prospects. We don't need to do that because we're making plenty of money at the moment. So then what happens is that's okay. Things get a little bit tighter, then they turn around and then they say, right, now we need to start spending money. And sometimes that means that they haven't got enough in their budget to allow for it. But of course then there's downtime in actually getting the marketing for it to actually pay off. So very rarely does marketing start to pay off, over 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. It usually takes time. So you need to be marketing in good times and in bad, in my opinion. I'm not suggesting you spend a fortune. You need to be consistent. You need to consider how you're actually doing things. What are the things that work? Also, if you are going to be doing some marketing, have a look at things like your website, your brand and your message. Have a look at your business at the moment. When I talk about brand, I'm not just talking about your logo. I'm actually talking about, does your website, look fresh? If somebody actually comes there to have a look, whether it's a prospective client or prospective employee, they're going to be looking for those sorts of things. When was it last updated? Who's responsible for doing the marketing? What does your brand actually say about you? Do you look as though you are modern, progressive, ahead of the times, or do you look like the office needs a bit of a paint? Things look like they're falling down around you. Hopefully not. So basic thing, but needs to be considered. Consider your social media. We're using Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and we're doing some SEO, search engine optimization. Not for everybody, but I think there are some strategies there where you actually can use those platforms to actually generate interest and get your message out there. Have a database, not only of clients. You need to have a database of not only of your clients, but also your prospects. So people that you want to get as clients, or people that are influential who might be able to get your business, you really need to get that database together, and you need to be in contact with them. Measure results of your advertising, obviously to work out your cost per lead to see what is working. And I would strongly suggest that your advertising or marketing is not just doing one or two things. It should be a number of different things in conjunction. If you try to just do TV or print or web-based marketing on their own, the chances are that you're not going to get as good a result or as good a level of inquiry as those where you're doing a number of things together. Again, work out your budget, measure the results, work out how many leads you're getting over a period of time. If you can't do it for the last 12 months, see if you can start to measure the last week or the last month. Figure out of those inquiries how many of them actually led to leads, that people that were interested in doing business with you. How many of those leads then went into a prospect stage, which is that they've asked for a tender or a quote, and then how many of those actually were converted. What was the rate? If it's only 30% was converted, and you felt it should be higher, then why is that? Is it because we're too dear? Did we not actually get our message across? Did we not put our proposal together correctly, that it communicated value? How is our proposal writing? How effective is it? Have we actually revisited it to actually make sure that prospective clients actually know what they're going to get when they get from us? Is it upfront? Is it fixed? Do they understand? Does it look impressive? Is it actually addressing the need they want? Do they actually have options? Strong thing that works wherever possible in proposals is actually giving options to clients. So once you've established what their needs are and you need to listen to them, then you actually then can give them options so they're not locked into one price only. So option 1 might include the basics of what they're after. Option 2 might include a bit more. Obviously it will be more expensive, but they'll get more for that. That might satisfy a need. Option 3 might be the big one, which they may or may not want. However, it might be something that they are interested in, that you didn't realise that they did want the whole kit and caboodle, and then that gives them options to do that. Set up a marketing calendar. Very important that if you're going to do some marketing, you cannot just basically do some marketing, leave it, and then it falls by the wayside. If you're going to do newsletters, and I really don't mind if they're only once a quarter, that's fine, but they need to go out quarterly. If you're going to do them monthly, they need to go out monthly. If you're going to hold a seminar event, don't do it once a year and just say, well, that didn't work. You need to do it regularly. If you're going to actually take clients to look after them and take them to the golf or to the races or whatever, then put it in your calendar, allow for it, and put it through. The message here is being consistent. Market, do it consistently, and obviously do it effectively. Okay. Right. Tip number 5 is giving what I would term giving a little bit. Prospective clients will be on the lookout for value in harder times. So you need to be aware that some of your clients, if it's tough and you're not looking after them, or they feel that they're not really getting value, then there will be again competitors out there looking for some value, but particularly new clients and new prospects, they will be looking for a little bit extra, and sometimes you should consider some special offers that should be perceived to be of high value but low cost to your business. Now you might say, well, what's a special offer, and what can we do that how do you do that without discounting and whatnot? Look, it could be doing an analysis on some of the key things, a brief white paper that they can get access to that's free. It could be that you can do a short analysis on whatever it is in terms of engineering that they've had help with in the past, so just a brief review or insight. You really should be if you need to get in front of people to show them what you can do, then you need to have something that you can give them. Because people are reluctant to move unless they can see that you are good, and sometimes they are wanting just to see how good you are. This might be the opportunity where you do have to give a little bit away without charging a fortune for, and you should perhaps consider what we call a no-brainer offer, and that's in order to get people in the door. And look, there will be, and some of you will have seen in the previous webinars that I offered, we do what we term have, in our opinion, is a no-brainer offer at the end, which I'll go through, which is not only an example but is actually real. You need to go through that. Obviously, follow up your inquiries promptly. If you're going to get people that are interested in your offer and you're not going to follow them up quickly and follow through, then obviously you have a credibility issue, and obviously that can come back and hurt your brand later on, and they might not want to do business with you. So if you're going to do this sort of stuff, make sure you follow up the inquiries promptly and you give them what they've asked for, where they've agreed to. So you need to actually get in, together with your team, have a bit of a brainstorming session to work out what products or services you might be able to offer your target market, some sort of solution that they might have been looking for in the past from your competitors, or you can see that they might be able to get some sort of free analysis that won't take you very long. And that's something that's low cost to you but high on value to them, just to give them a bit of an opinion and get in front of them. Coming in number 6 is reviewing your technology. Technology these days, it's there to be used. It should always be reviewed to both increase your efficiency and reduce your costs. So, when was the last time, if you looked at your business at the moment, when was the last time you updated your technology? Are you giving your team the latest tools that will not only improve the way that they're providing the products and services, but also, if they are the latest, then they can also act as a signal to attract better people to come and work for you. So an example, might be with engineering, it might be the latest. Is the service speed fast there? Do you have the latest software for CAD design, etc.? Do you use dual screens for your professional and admin staff so they can work more efficiently? Have you considered going paperless, which can improve the efficiencies of jobs as they come in? So all these sorts of things is that, do you use things like webinars, go-to meetings to have meetings with clients if you can't do it on site, if you want to do a presentation, if you want to run a webinar for your prospects as part of it, typically what we're doing today. And you need to find out how to do these things, and there's a little bit of work, but once you do those, you will start to see the results. And if nothing else, not only does it improve the efficiency, helps you attract more people, but it helps you keep in contact with your clients. Have a look at your accounting system. So I'm not, every business is different. Some of the more common engineering firms use MYOB. They might use Xero or SASU. Have you updated the MYOB live, or for the cloud, for example? Have you been told about that? And if you have you seen the benefits of those? Because it's quite simple to go across to the cloud with whatever system that you use. And what you should find is that your accountant is then it should be easier for them to actually get the information from you, to help you obtain it without having different copies of files going backwards and forwards. The file can still be worked on in most cases. And the compliance side, what you should see from the year-end financials and tax returns, the cost of those compliance things from your advisors really should start to drop a bit, because it's becoming really a bit more like a commodity and it's easier for them. So you might need to have a look at that, and that is one area that you might be able to get some of your fees down a little bit. But also then use your advisors then for other things, perhaps for in the business advisory sense, but a little bit for what we're talking about today. What sort of database system are you using? We talk about marketing. Have you got a database that's only used for billing and putting your clients in? Should you be looking at a full customer relationship module such as ACT, Salesforce, or some other module, or updating the one that you've got in order to do that? A lot of these systems now are on the cloud. They're cheap. They're easy to transfer information across. But by all means, use technology to your advantage to get some of these things in place and really get out there and have a crack. And again, this all comes back to your planning and some of the other tips that I've already talked about. Tip number 7 is standing out from the crowd. And yep, this is an issue that's not only for when times are good, but it's also, when times are bad, but when times are good. You need to keep tabs on your competitors. Just review the way that you're doing things, because you don't want to leave yourself open to your competitors coming in and saying, well, look, we can do this, this, and this. You've got the relationship with your clients, but you also want to make sure that you are a little bit different, so they don't start to look. But also, you want to be able to offer more than just the standard services and products like everyone else. If there was a prospect out there that was thinking that their advisor, for engineering needs were getting a little bit stayed, a little bit same, getting charged the same amount of money, not really doing anything differently that actually helps them. What is your business actually doing to offer some of those things that might tempt them to come across? How does your business actually stand out from your competitors? Have some sessions with your team. Again, determine how you can get out of what we call the sea of sameness. Because once you start getting into the sea of sameness, you start to actually compete on price. and when you start competing on price, there tends to be less and less value for the client, so they're only looking for price and nothing else. You've really got to actually do a little bit more than that. Again, review your branding. Does your brand actually infer that it's up to date, that you're cutting edge? Do you look like an engineering firm that is getting the latest products and services and technology in place that will actually provide a solution for your clients, that will actually allow them to actually do it quicker, faster, better, and in some cases cheaper? But when I say cheaper, it usually means that you're doing it more efficiently, so it doesn't have to mean that you're less profitable. Have a bit of a think and say, well, look, realistically, if I look at my business, ask yourself, how do we actually stand out from the crowd? What are we doing that actually makes us look like we're go-getters and people will come to us? Tip number 8 ties in a little bit with the employees and keeping the best staff and attracting good staff. In downtime and in harder economic environments, it's usually there is a little bit more downtime and more time on your hands to do things. You need to use that time to not only plan and review your business, but also you need to review your own skills and review your team's skill levels. Are they being kept up to date? Have they got the latest and greatest? Are there any gaps that will allow you to train them so that they can sell more products and services? Again, usually the best employees these days, it's not just remuneration. They are looking to see the levels of training that are provided and the skill sets and the experience that they're getting. Do you have a system in place for that? Do you have that in your budget, and what are you doing about it? Of course, once you've identified these sorts of things and you've tied it in with your strategic plan and some of the other things that we've talked about, such as your marketing, your database, etc., you're contacting your clients, you obviously need to then communicate these skills to your prospects and clients so that they know that you can do these things. Because if you don't tell them, they're not going to know, and then they'll go to someone else that who can. So the question is, you need to ask yourself, well, how skilled are we as a business? Do gaps exist? And of course, what are we going to do about it? Tip number 9 is following up old leads. So we may have old quotes that we might have tendered for in the past that didn't buy for whatever reason. It could be from existing clients, it could be from ex-clients, it could be from prospects. But the number of times I actually see people or businesses go to the trouble of actually getting the quotes in, doing all the work, and then finding out either they didn't win the business. Sometimes they don't even find out why they didn't win the business, whether someone went somewhere else or they stopped. That's probably rare in the engineering profession, but sometimes those quotes or files just get put away. No one chases them up. Again, there's no communication with those people, so you need to, you really should follow them up whether they bought from you or not. If they've bought from you in the past or they've asked from to provide a tender or a quote, then obviously they see something in there. Yes, admittedly, sometimes they're just looking for the cheapest. However, if you're not consistently chasing them up and talking to them, then you might be missing out on new opportunities. You need to be front of mind, so you need to keep in contact and keep in regular contact with these leads. If you had a prospect that you did a quote for and they were agreeable, then really you should be keeping in contact via newsletter or ringing them, just seeing how they're going, because obviously it's cheaper to target those that have obviously contacted us before, or we've got the leads before, rather than chasing new prospects willingly, which just does tend to cost you money. Also, you might just find out that if you did miss out on jobs, that they aren't happy with their existing provider. So you don't want to sort of wait till the next time that they're waiting. You want to be on the front foot. You want to be contacting them, seeing how they're going, and just, if they're happy to talk to you or happy to tee up an appointment with you to go and see them, then fine. But again, it's no good just saying that you do these things and you only do it willy-nilly. You need a system in place, and it should all be part of your plan. And let's face it, you're in business, you might be engineers, but you're in the sales business. We're all in the sales business. Most small businesses, in order to win business, you need to be able to sell, you need to be able to follow up, and you need to be able to keep in contact. And so you need your team to be aware of that. If they're just sitting around saying, gee, it's quiet at the moment, waiting for the phones to ring, then obviously that's not going to last for long, and you're not going to win the new business that you need to. So, my question would be, well, have you kept in contact with those that didn't buy from you in the past? And if you have, is it regular? Is it being followed up on a systematic basis, or is it just very ad hoc? The final tip that we've got here is reviewing your service levels. I mean, clients do remember the sort of service that they get, and the more service they get, obviously, the less reluctant they are to look elsewhere. I mean, have you actually thought about surveying your clients and find out what they want and how they found your services? We always work out that it's great to find out and survey clients when they're going to tell us that they love what we do. However, it's still very important to find out things that they don't like, and it shows that you care, basically. So you might have had some problems with clients in the past where there's been a bit of an error for whether it's a service level or not, but by contacting them and surveying them and letting them know, staying in contact, then obviously you stand a much better chance of keeping them. It's all about service. So you need to put yourself in the shoes of your clients. If you put your client hat on and came into your office looking for some work that they wanted to give you or quote on, how would you actually provide from the very start, from the time they get there to what you promised to get to them by a certain time? Are you on time? Are the quotes done quickly, within reason, or within the time frame that you suggested? How would you actually, from the time that you've done that to winning the work, to delivering the work, to getting paid and beyond, pre and post purchase of your services, how would you actually rate those? And particularly from your better clients, but it really should be on an overall basis. Think about it. Do you have a stuff-ups register? Like, if you have had problems in the past, you need a system to capture those. Some of these things can come into your daily huddles or even your weekly meetings. You need to have a system to capture them, and then obviously get feedback from your team to make sure that those sorts of things don't keep reoccurring, or you will start to see people break with their feet. And again, you need to be honest with your clients. If you have made a mistake or there has been a bit of a stuff up, it's much better to get on the front foot, talk to them, explain to them that you are addressing the situation and that it will be resolved. For appointments, use reminders. To either, it can be either from yourself, it's an appointment with yourself, but it is quite a good idea to either have an SMS system in place to start telling clients that you're looking forward to seeing them. It could be that your admin staff might actually have a system in place where they'll ring them the day before. I mean, it is something that is nice to do. It can actually solve a lot of problems as well, because some clients do forget. So then you actually clear your desk, get all ready to see them, and then you find that they've forgotten. There's a lot of sitting around and whatnot. If they've worked out that they can't see you the next day, then usually I'll tell you then, which is good. But again, you're keeping that contact, the communication levels in place. So very, very important again to do that. Go the extra mile. It's the old saying's never been more true, that you need to under-promise and over-deliver. If you're not doing that, then really you are going to see that clients will start to look elsewhere. They will start to look for better service, better pricing, and some of your competitors will do that. So they're pretty much some of the key things. I think if you see a common theme, the main areas that that you'll notice, the common theme that's coming through this particular webinar is you need to do some very solid planning at the start. It needs to obviously all make sense. You need to keep in contact with your clients and your prospects, and that obviously involves marketing. You need to keep in contact with those that you've dealt with before. You need to look at your team and make sure they're all in place, your best team members. You need to make sure that you're doing things with them, and you need to review your service levels. All these things are particularly important in bad times, but they're even also important in good times. And if you do those things, you should see a marked difference in your results and give you a much better chance of achieving what you want to achieve. So with that, that's pretty much the 10 tips. We do have the special offer that I was talking about for attendees. And for the first attendees today that contact us, and Jackie will email these forms out to you, we will do a review of your current budgeting processes and recommendations for improvement, which is valued at $350. We will look at analysis of where your business's cash has gone, explain that to you for the past 3 financial years, and also do an analysis on some of your key business drivers, and we'll tell you which ones that we think you should be looking at and what's going on there. We have a business value assessment. That's just to give you a bit of an indication on an estimate, which involves an 80 multiple choice question. It's a system that we use that gives you some feedback on what you need to work on. You can use it as a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats system, but we'll give you a bit of an idea on what your business multiple might be as a percentage or as a business valuation. So for a total value of $3,050, if you want to be one of the first 10, we're offering that for an investment of $280. If you want to do that, please fill in the form and be one of the first 10 when Jackie emails that to you. We will then follow it up and tell you what we need in order to carry out that process. Obviously, everything is confidential, and certainly we'd be keen to give you some insights, and we offer that as part of the special offer for today's webinar. All right, so that pretty much wraps up the webinar, but I guess I'm just checking whether we do have any other questions about what I've discussed today. Do you have any questions that anyone wants to know further about? Or no? Jason Myers, just thank you. He doesn't have a question, but has thanked me. Okay, we've got a question here. How would you manage quiet periods after Christmas each year, early New Year's? Clients are not interested in talking about 2014 and work late in 2013. I think that's probably a very good question, and look, it's relevant to a lot of businesses. What we would tend to do here is that some of the work may be that you can get the work in, say, November, December, and some of that mightn't necessarily mean that you actually have to do that work on site. So some of that could be remotely. So there will be some work that you can actually push into the quieter period, but it's all about scheduling the work as well. So when you sit down with your clients, and if you have a regular client base that does certain work, at a certain time each period, then you really should be on the front foot and be actually scheduling the work in so that you can actually put as much of that type of work into January, February, when it is a little bit quieter. There is no doubt that sometimes that's not possible. But what you don't want happening is you don't want the first 6 months where you're going along okay, but you're not operating at full capacity, and then all of a sudden you can't get the work done that could have been done in the office, or planned with the client earlier in January, February. So you need to have a system in place, schedule your work, work out when you want that work to come in wherever possible. And really sit down with your team and work out when they'll be doing what. If you do have work that can be done in January, February, then you need to do that. And of course, the other thing is that part of your marketing is that if you are doing regular marketing, then some work might come in December that will flow through into January, February, because there will be some people that do need those needs, but that could be from new clients. Generally, that's what you would do. If by all means, if you know it's going to be quiet and you can't schedule those in, then you need to actually schedule in perhaps some annual leave for your staff and work with skeleton staff there for the time being. But it's all about getting organised and looking at it. So thank you for that. Okay. Another thank you message. Do we have any other questions based on what I've said today? All right. Well, look, thank you. If there aren't any further questions, if you If you did feel that you wanted to email us with any questions about the webinar, that's fine. If you that will be put up on YouTube, a copy. So if you want to have a look at that later on today, that'll be good. And please keep in contact. If you've got any questions, please let us know. I wish you well. Now's a great chance. Use the quieter times to get the mindset that this is an opportunity for really get your business pumping. Get the planning right, get your team involved, and it really would be a great opportunity for you to get your business in order. I do have another question there. Can I be contacted outside of the webinar? Yes, please do. Jackie will have our details. You can come in via scolari.comerford.com.au if you like. I'm more than happy to talk to you if you have some queries about anything in general, about your engineering business or how you might approach things. I'm very happy to do that. So without any further ado, we might end it there. Please have a great 12 months, and there will be more webinars coming up over the next couple of months or so. And if you need anything, please give us a call. Thank you for your attendance, and all the best. Thank you.